everyone. Welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer today. I'm back at it with another video. Today, we're going to be talking all about this up-and-coming new moon in the sign of Taurus. If you guys like my content, you want to see more of it, make sure you click the bell button below, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and consider sharing with other people. Let me know, where is this new moon taking place in your chart, and where are you feeling the pressure to grow? All right, guys, well, this is coming in on April 27th, 2025. Depending on where it is that you live in the world, I'm Central Time, so it's going to be around 2:31 p.m. Central Time. So that's going to be right around 12:30 on the Pacific Coast, and right around 3:30 on the East Coast. But you might have to adjust your time zones accordingly. I'm excited to kind of talk to you guys about this today because it is a bit complex, which I enjoy. And really, like I said, this is about the pressure to grow. And you'll see that through the T-square that's going to be formed between Mars in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius. Now, this has been an opposition that we have been dealing with really since the beginning of 2025, kind of feeling like we're stuck in the middle. We don't know which direction to go in. But I feel like this can be a very powerful manifestation moon. If you are ready for change, if you are ready to put the pedal to the metal and go in a new direction, if you're really focusing on better self-esteem, more abundance, better resources, this is the moon that you guys are going to want to work with. Now, obviously, it's coming in at 7 degrees, so that is going to have a connection and a correlation to Libra. And we'll talk a little bit about what that means. But this is a new moon that is very much about our relationship to something, okay? Our relationship to a person, a place, a thing. So you're going to have to kind of see where Taurus lands in your chart. That particular house is where you're experiencing your new moon. Now, I think that new moons just in general are amazing times to plant seeds for new beginnings. But I think a Taurus new moon in general is very much associated with planting seeds connected to abundance. It can also be about stability and self-worth. So if you guys stick around, we're going to kind of unpack this. We're going to talk about the Sabian symbol, the astrological aspects, as well as how this is going to be impacting the collective as well as individuals. And I will be touching on the 12 rising signs at the end of my video. All right, so let's talk all about this new moon. So basically, Taurus is the second sign in the zodiac, right? This is fixed Earth. It is ruled by Venus. It is the pleasure center of the zodiac. This is about what feels good, tastes good, what brings us security. This is also about really rooting down and building something lasting. Now, we get a new moon every month, and in this situation, it's very interesting. The last full moon that we had in Libra ruled by Venus, right? And it featured a Venus conjunct Saturn. Venus was stationing, so it was still retrograde actually at the time of that full moon. Now, 2 weeks later, we have a new moon also ruled by Venus, and Venus is now direct and it's conjunct Saturn. So the lunations of the month of April have been very much Venusian based. This has been about, well, what do we need more of? What do we not have enough of? What is bending? What is breaking? And also, I think a lot of this is about reinvesting ourselves into something and recognizing and realizing that if something good is going to come, if something valuable is going to come, we have to believe, right? Pisces, we have to visualize. So obviously, whenever we talk about Taurus lunations or Taurus transits, we're going to be really focusing on like earthly things, earthly pleasure. So whether that's financial security, self-love, or just your self-esteem, this is going to be some of the hot topics that are going to kind of come up with this particular new moon. And new moons are always fresh starts. So in Taurus, we're being invited to set intentions revolving around what makes us feel secure, valued, and also I think like connected to our senses. So whether that's your career, your relationships, or your personal growth, this is a time to really get practical and really nurture your goals. And a lot of it is going to be with patience because Taurus is a sign known for its patience. Now, I'm going to read to you guys the Sabian symbol for this particular new moon. Like I said, it's at a 7, so it has a connection and a correlation to Libra. So it's going to be about our relationship, kind of 7, to things, money, food, possessions, resources. Also, what relationships or what things are coming in that is bringing us support or balancing us out. So we're going to be reading the Sabian symbol for 8 degrees, which is, we round up. So this is a sleigh without snow. And the theme here is the magic of believing. The symbol speaks to having faith that anything is possible and and refusing to fall victim to the idea that everything is contingent on the happening of some prior event, or there is only one way to get the job done. The image of the sleigh without snow suggests an insurmountable obstacle and difficulties that the person has to accept limitations, yet the symbol alludes to the magic and the power of imagination. The challenge of this degree is recognizing that nature is generous with her resources and that there are illimitable solutions and alternatives for achieving any goal. On a practical level, this refers to serendipity, or the fortuitous convergence of events in time and space in a relevant and significant but inexplicable manner. At its highest, the symbol represents creativity, magical ability to make wishes come true, or a knack for believing at the right time at the right place when things come together in harmony. All right, so watch for fatalistic acceptance of disappointments or as one's lot in life. The accent on miracles and magic. Help may come from an unexpected source. The solution is there if you're willing to see. The greatest advantage lies in being open and receptive. Use your imagination to be creative. Experiment with every idea. One of them will work. Guard against accepting defeat too easily or telling yourself that things just weren't meant to be. Avoid rejecting possible solutions because they don't seem logical. Stepping stones are faith, magic, miracles, transcendence of difficulty, imagination, resourcefulness, and support. Okay, so I think that that's really true. I think we're going to see a lot of that. I think we could see that come in the form of from others, from relationships, from people that we maybe didn't anticipate or didn't expect. Maybe it's about finding that inner kind of support and that inner validation that we're giving ourselves. That's like, no, it's going to work. We're going to do that, right? And you guys are going to see there's a lot of magic baked into this new moon because of the Venus-Saturn connection, because this does represent kind of like breaking through invisible walls and limits and like being able to really nurture and have appreciation. And it could be about ritual, it can be about manifestation, to bring some of these things to reality. But I also feel like this image, it's really about preparation and potential, right? So, preparation, I think, is really going to be kind of connected to Saturn. That potential is that Uranus and Taurus, that sextile that we're going to see between those two planets. And it's suggesting that we're, in a way, almost like equipping ourselves for a journey, right? So it's like a sleigh without snow. Like, where are you going to go? Like, you're in terrain that's not really built for how you're moving around. So we're equipping ourselves for a journey, even if the conditions aren't practical, even if they're not perfect yet. We're just kind of like preparing for getting to where we need to go. So we could be preparing for something, a season prior, right? And we know that new moons take about 6 months to fully kind of manifest, and it'll become a full moon in the fall of 2025. So you might not feel like the conditions aren't perfect yet, but this is like ripe with the opportunity for something down the road to really kind of fully blossom. So think of this as laying the groundwork for future success, trusting that the snow, right, or the right opportunities will come. And it's a reminder to stay patient and keep faith in the process, even if you haven't kind of quite seen where exactly it is that you're going yet. Now, when we unpack the aspects of this particular moon, you guys know I always tell you new moons and full moons, they're not all created equal. We're gonna have to take a look at the aspects and what's kind of playing out in terms of the lunation, because that's going to set the stage for what's going to happen over the immediate next month, what new things we're working with, how they're going to come about, where the pros and where the cons are, and how to make lemonade. But also 6 months down the road, it's going to give me a little bit of an insight into what's going to manifest when this becomes a full moon. So when we unpack this, like I said, number one is, that 7 connected to relationships, people, places, things, money, relationships to our value, our self-esteem, and the ability to kind of grow in our sense of self and resources. That's number one. And I think that against all odds, some might actually find that this is a very potent financial manifestational time. Now, I know that's an interesting topic. I know things have been quite kind of hectic and chaotic out in the world, economically, globally, in the markets and all that stuff. And that's very much baked into this, okay? So Taurus is going to deal with not only our money, our resources, cash in the bank, money in hand, possessions that we have, but it's also going to be talking about bonds and what's going on with the bond market. Then you're going to be having Aquarius, which is very much about the collective and how the collective is reacting and responding to what's going on with banks, markets, and any kind of like financial trends. Obviously, we know Pluto is connected to crisis. It's going to be about people reacting wildly and responding wildly to what changes are happening, how that's impacting material goods, Taurus, what we can buy, what we can consume, what we have in our pocket, what we want more of, all that stuff. I think that just the new moon square Pluto was actually saying that there is some collective shift that's going on, and it's going to be impacting how we're spending money, where we're spending money. It may feel like it's a bit of like a crunch right now, but I feel like it's actually going to give us a lot more room to grow 6 months down the road. So can it mean that consumers are having to face, paying higher fees for things? Absolutely. I think that that is possible. I think that it's also kind of saying that it's going to show people to be more smart with their dollar, where they're spending money, what they're buying, where they're buying from. And it's also going to incentivize some people to be a little bit more conservative, because that's what Taurus is. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, we're also going to see squares to Mars and Leo. So this is why I'm saying it's bringing up this opposition that we've seen between Mars and Pluto really since the beginning of 2025. If you want to go back, it was actually happening in the fall of last year, but it was in different signs. So this is kind of coming right on the heels of the Mars-Pluto opposition, which in itself is a whole other aspect. But this is now pushing Mars to take chances, take risks, right? So it is a very financial moon in general for the collective. I feel like the positive here is with that Saturn North Node connection. It is serious. It is definitely about, a soulful vibe. Venus being there can be about envisioning what we're hoping to kind of bring in. It can be about being patient and being cautious and playing the long game. But Saturn also demands, commitment. Saturn is about boundaries. The North Node is going to be about the points in our collective destiny that's really urging us to kind of blend patience, persistence, discipline, compassion, right? When it comes to our financial planning, when it comes to our relationships, when it comes to our creative pursuits. So what's nice here is that Venus is kind of making this harmonious sextile to Uranus and Taurus. And this basically means that it's sparking innovation. It's giving us the opportunity to say, you know what? I'm going to take a different approach. I'm going to do something unusual. I'm going to take a chance. Maybe I'm going to start, saving money differently, spending money differently, investing differently, and also making some changes when it comes to my resources. Now, I feel like this can be about also your approach to not just money, but maybe beauty, how you're styling, what products you're using, how you want to be looking, changes also to your self-worth. So some of you guys decide to kind of, sport a bold new style or an unconventional income stream within the next 6 months. It would not surprise me. Now, like I said, probably the most difficult aspect is going to be this Mars-Pluto opposition, and it's forming a T-square to the new moon. So the focal point of the T-square is going to be the sun and the moon in Taurus. And basically, this is creating tension, all right? I keep thinking, like, this reminds me, like, I've got a bunch of plants in my house, right? I've got a bunch of, like, house plants. And I've got a couple of house plants that aren't, like, they're not thriving. No matter what I do, if I move them around, I water them more, I water them less, I put them in the sun, like, they're just not making it. And I don't know what's going on, but it reminds me of what's been kind of happening with my plants that are kind of, like, on the fritz, Pluto. And that I've been kind of thinking to myself, you know what, before I decide to like trash these plants, I'm going to uproot them. I'm going to change the soil. I'm going to put them in a new pot. I'm going to put the pressure on them to be like, okay, I'm going to give you one last shot at life before I'm going to decide that I'm going to kind of trash you. I'm going to see if there can be something else that I can do. And I think that it's going to be about uprooting them, changing the soil. That's what this feels like. This is a new moon that's kind of suggesting that if we want growth, if we want to experience new things, if we want to have better stability, if we want to have more abundance, more life, right, Taurus, then we have to be willing to uproot some stuff. We have to be willing to pull the weeds. We also have to be willing to kind of move stuff around and kind of create some pressure and make some changes and be able to think on our feet and kind of pivot. So when you see a T-square, it's always when you see an opposition, which is relational. So there's something going on outside of ourselves with the collective and also with us on a personal level that is obviously impacting or being impacted by this new moon. So this is the focal point of this square. And when the new moon becomes the focal point of this square, it's channeling the stress basically of the opposition. So the positive, because there is positive, is that we have the moon in, obviously, its best position. Having the moon in Taurus is exalted. It means that it's going to be the most comfortable. It's going to be the most indulgent. It's going to be the most focused on security and kind of groundedness. So it can manage and it can handle this, I think, a little bit better. However, when you have squares, T-squares, oppositions, especially in the fixed signs, these signs don't want to change. They are very steadfast. That's what these signs are known for. They kind of maintain and they hold the energy of that particular season. So where Taurus is all about life and growth and sensuality and taking our time, right? Taurus, Leo is going to be about, no, let's be bold, let's be reckless, let's get out there, let's play the game of life, especially with Mars being there. And Pluto in Aquarius can mean that there is like almost like this collective mindset or collective kind of, significant change, pressure, or crisis that's kind of setting in. So you put it all together, that new moon becomes the focal point of absorbing that stress. And it creates almost like a pressure cooker where the energies of Mars, action and desire, as well as Pluto, power and transformation, it's clashing with the new moon. And it's asking us really, to move forward with resolving or expressing this conflict. So that means that we're going to be dealing with this for the better part of the next 6 months. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to be chaotic for 6 months. It just means that things are going to change. And I think that really the focus of the new moon in Taurus is I want to have a better relationship to money. I want to have more stability. I want to feel more secure. Specifically, Taurus rules, not just like banks and banking sectors. It's also connected to agriculture. It's also connected to farming. This is going to also be about cattle. This is going to be connected to food, luxury brands, products, physical hard assets like, gold, silver, anything that's connected to the dollar. So it is saying that the name of the game is to make things, I think, more readily available for people. This is also so people can indulge and have luxury, but maybe they're having to make a sacrifice right now. I think it's interesting just kind of seeing what's going on, like what's happening with like the world of investing. You've got a lot of like younger people getting involved in investing, and people who I think are investors now are just very different than what you saw like maybe like 20, 30 years ago. Now we're getting like the normal people kind of into the investing world. And maybe you're not an investor, you're not interested in that stuff. That's fine. You can disregard what I'm saying. But when I think of somebody who's just like an average Joe, I think of like Taurus. And with Venus conjunct Saturn, it can mean that there are some people who are sitting around and they recognize and they realize right now that while the markets are kind of down, it's an opportunity to get in. It's an opportunity to kind of ride the wave of the pressure, knowing that within 6 months' time, it's going to be a pretty significant turnaround. And like astrologically, I believe that that's what's going to happen. This is not me looking at the stock market, purely looking at the astrology. So with this new moon, I think Taurus's role here is really the new moon in Taurus is to seek stability. This is about security and simplicity. So with the new moon as the focus point, I think that it's pushing for the intentions to kind of ground and stabilize amidst, the kind of like volatile Mars-Pluto opposition, which is just rattling the markets. I think it's also like kind of like trying to plant a garden in a storm, right? It feels challenging, but rewarding if you persist. Or, you guys have all like planted a garden and then seen like a massive like storm come through and you're like, are my plants going to make it? Are they going to grow? And then, a week or two later, you start seeing things sprout and you're like, oh my God, it made it. So this is also about the pressure to act. When we have a new moon, we're setting things in motion to kind of grow in this area moving forward. So the squares, I think, is demanding that this is not a new moon where we're just going to mosey around and take our time. And that's what Taurus would want to do. This is saying, nope, we got to kind of get this show on the road. Taurus obviously prefers to be slow and steady progress, but Mars and Pluto are intense and it's urgent. So it's forcing us to control issues of control, desire, and transformation head on. Now, this can be about manifestation, new moon, under stress. That's what I think the bottom line is with this new moon, that, we can focus on setting intentions, but the T-square is basically saying your goals may face immediate tests. And I think you guys are going to see that the next 2 to 4 weeks. I think that this is about us being asked to build something that's lasting because that's what Taurus wants. But we're doing this while we're navigating power struggles and also bold challenges in the midst of that Mars-Pluto opposition. Now, obviously, Mars and Leo, right? This is kind of fiery. It's also very expressive. And this is a placement that can be a little ego-driven. Mars and Leo wants to shine. It wants to lead. And it wants to really pursue some of its own personal passions. And it does that with courage. It's about individual glory and creative risks. Versus Pluto in Aquarius, which is going to be really kind of touching on deep, transformative, sometimes collective focused things. And Pluto here is really pushing for systematic changes. It's pushing for innovation and breaking free from outdated structures. And it's also about power dynamics that are going on within groups or society. So there's very much this tension between the individual versus the collective and the impact that that's kind of having on, I think, the financial system. So the conflict here is really this tug of war between personal desires as well as collective transformation. So you might feel kind of torn between standing out or aligning with like a broader ideal. Now, collectively, I think we're going to see this manifest as power struggles for sure, because the T-square really manifests as tension. So think of this as like 6 months of debates over leadership, how we manage resources out in the world, technological advancements, and the impact that that has on the marketplace. Mars and Leo might feel dramatic displays of ego, while Pluto is really kind of demanding some kind of reform. And I think it's going to be connected to banking, money, crypto. I think it's also going to be kind of connected to, developments in tech and how that's impacting certain like tech stocks. And when some things might go wild, and then something else comes out that's going to be, bigger, better, fresher, faster. And then all of a sudden, they're going to be the top dog and it's going to impact another company. So we're going to see some pretty dramatic swings. Now, the economic focus here is that financial systems are going to feel the pressure, like more than ever. And I feel like, it can be a combination of things. I really feel like the new moon is about finding practical solutions, but the squares indicate resistance or upheaval. So we might see some like stress tests and stuff kind of going on with certain financial systems. And obviously, it's going to be about innovation versus tradition, because you've got the physical kind of standing point, what physically manifests, and innovation would be Aquarius. And then obviously Taurus is like traditional. So we're going to see the back and forth between Taurus's desire for stability, while, Pluto wants this kind of like revolutionary energy that's going to be about breakthroughs and sustainable practices or economic models. But you're going to see how that's going to be impacting the markets with the square to Mars in Leo. Now, on an individual level, like if we kind of like zoom in and we go, how does this impact me? Essentially, I think that this can create some inner conflict for some people. I think that some people are going to look at this and they're going to go, well, I feel kind of caught between asserting myself and my individuality, my needs, my hobbies, right? The things that I love, and surrendering to deeper change, the opportunity, to kind of like see that dynamic play out with the opposition to Pluto and Aquarius. I think the new moon is really asking us to find a practical middle ground. So like, how can you honor your values while still evolving? The trick here, I think, with the T-square is about kind of meeting in the middle, because it's not the midpoint. That would be in Scorpio. This is kind of the polar midpoint. So it is kind of saying, if we can find a way to work together, this is what we can achieve: better relationships, better resources, more money, all that fun stuff. Now, this is also about transformation through challenge. We will face challenges. You will see it kind of play out throughout the next 6 months. And I think that with like a T-square, it's uncomfortable, but it's growth oriented, right? It pushes us forward, it propels us, and it pushes us to act. So this new moon for some of us can feel like a turning point where we release old patterns through that Pluto square and we step into our own personal power with Mars and Leo. And we can do that with very grounded intentions, practical, steps forward, Taurus. And this will, I think, allow all of us to really focus more on highlighting where we're undervaluing ourselves. Where are we giving our power away? Because this is going to also play on self-worth and power. This new moon is really going to be about inviting us to set intentions to reclaim what we value, but Mars and Pluto will test your resolve. All right, so I'm sure you guys are wondering, how do you navigate this energy? Well, number one, this is Taurus, right? So it's all about staying grounded. So Taurus's energy is your anchor, basically. So if you can focus on small, tangible steps to avoid being overwhelmed, by Mars's impulsiveness or Pluto's intensity, do that. That can be gardening, that can be cooking, that could be working with crystals, working with herbs, spending time outside. That's really going to be very beneficial, I think, to kind of incorporate, especially over the next month. Now, to better channel this tension, remember, Mars is in Leo. So this can be about channeling that kind of passion into what can be creative outlets, or you can be working with Pluto's energy for kind of inner depth, shadow work. It can be a time where journaling, meditating, or moving your body through the process can be very helpful. Remember that Venus is conjunct Saturn here. So this is like sacred spaces, right? Meditation, reflection, manifestation, what's going on in our dream space, what we're kind of building or what we're envisioning that can then come and become our new reality, right? Sextile to Uranus. I think that this is also about just knowing that there's going to be power struggles out there and not being afraid of them, seeing them as opportunities maybe to kind of move through stuff. Like definitely Mars and Pluto in opposition, it's going to spark conflict, or you're going to see issues with control that's going to be coming up, and you want to choose collaboration over confrontation, and really reflect before reacting, especially, with some of the oppositions. This is going to be very much like the individual versus networks, friends, people online. And you're going to see a lot of people who are going to be having like a conflict over values or a conflict over their beliefs about money or what we should be buying or what we should be possessing. And it's definitely going to have an impact on relationships, right? Because it's going to be at a 7. I think this is also about, setting resilient intentions. I think with Taurus, Taurus loves longevity, crafting a new moon goal that can withstand challenges, like building financial security or deepening self-love, knowing that obstacles are going to arise, but that those challenges can actually be really beneficial. And it can almost be like little stress tests that we kind of go through to see just how solid, how stable, and how committed we are to some of these goals. Now, something else that you're going to be seeing, other than the Venus North Node Saturn, the sextile to Uranus, the squares that we're going to see to Pluto and Mars, you're also going to be seeing that Mars will be in a trine with Neptune, okay? So within about 4 degrees. Technically, Mars is trine Venus too. It's an out of sign trine, but I'll give it to you on that. I think that with Mars trine Neptune, this is adding more of like a dreamy kind of inspired energy. This aspect really fuels creativity in the fire signs, obviously also courage. And it encourages us to act on our passions and really, I think, add a touch of fire to when it comes to our desires, when it comes to our spiritual practice, when it comes to our creative hobbies, what we love. Like Mars is the drive, right? And because it's trining Neptune, which is the vision, we are going to be feeling very inspired. We're going to be feeling like we're willing to get involved in the risk or the thrill. Like for the thrill of it kind of comes up a lot with some of the Mars Neptune and like the Mars squares as well. I do think that this can be really beneficial for people who are feeling like they want to do something that is going to be more pioneering, if they're wanting to do something more entrepreneurial. If you're saying, hey, you know what, I'm investing in this side hustle, this side hobby, maybe you're wanting to, get into a new type of business. Maybe you're learning about a new type of investing. Maybe you have a new strategy, right? This really speaks to me that if you can see the positivity or the opportunity, or if you can see that there's going to be some risk, but opportunity for big reward, and you can look through some of the fear or some of the madness, right? Certainly Venus Saturn has manifested for a lot of people as scarcity mindset. Oh my God, if it's the end of the world, what's going to happen? What's going on with the markets? What's going on with the tariffs? What's going on with the economy? And a lot of people are scared. But out of those people who are scared, there's a small number of people who are like the very Mars Neptune people, or even like the Mars opposition to Pluto. That's like, no, everybody's freaked out. I'm buying in, because some of the things that have been happening in the market recently, like, do not come around very often. So when you see some of these dips, inevitably, yes, they are kind of, people are going to make a big deal about it, but the market does come back. And if you go back in time and you look at what happened, like, for example, during the pandemic, we had the scare in 2020, and then the market came back even bigger than it was before. So just something to kind of think about, even if it's not playing out for you in a financial sense. Maybe you're taking a chance in a relationship. Maybe you're moving across the country. Maybe you're starting your own business. Maybe you're changing careers, right? Or maybe you're just like jumping into something new that is going to be kind of scary, but you believe in it. You can see a future in it. This is going to be the new moon for you. Now, I think that collectively, this is going to be kind of highlighting, obviously, not just economic shifts, but shifts revolving around sustainability. I also think that we're going to see innovations in financial systems because of some of the squares to Pluto, but also some of the sextiles to Uranus. Like these could be things like cryptocurrencies or green investments gaining traction. And the squares could also bring a reoccurrence of protests or debates about power and resources. So the T square to me really says that globally, it's a call to balance personal desires with some kind of communal progress. But I think for you on a personal level with this new moon, I would be asking yourself, what do you value, right? Are you investing in relationships, projects, or habits that align with your worth? The Venus-Saturn North Node connection is about emotional maturity, and it's setting boundaries with love, not with fear. And the squares are really bringing us to really, this opportunity where we can have conflict. But I think that conflict is really showing us where there's challenges that's kind of coming up to check our confidence, pushing you also to release old patterns and step into your power. So some ritual ideas that I have for you guys for this new moon. Obviously, Taurus is an earth sign. So if you're working with crystals, if you're working with plants, with any kind of herbal stuff, that's going to be the best way to go. Grounding meditations can also be really wonderful. So I like for Taurus new moons to sit comfortably and kind of visualize roots growing from your feet into the earth, and then breathing and kind of connecting with that energy and focusing on grounding your energy, especially if you work at a desk job, making an effort to maybe get up every hour, stand up and stretch, and then really kind of feel yourself kind of grounding can be really beneficial. Or going outside, taking your shoes off, doing some yoga in the grass, eating lunch outside, that stuff can be really wonderful as well. Taurus is simple. It doesn't need all of the complications, Also, I would set intentions with this new moon, but be mindful that this is a new moon that's going to hold you accountable. If you say you're going to do something, you're going to see stuff thrown at you every which way till Sunday, basically for the next 6 months, to see, just exactly how tough you are and if you can withstand some of the pressure and the challenges to get to where you want to go. Now, I think it'll be quite rewarding down the road. That's just me. But if you do want to use this moon as an opportunity to manifest, especially anything around abundance, self-worth, or pleasure, be specific, okay? So I would sit down and write something like, I attract financial stability through, X, Y, and Z. I know that the universe, provides for me always. I'm open to receiving, that kind of stuff. But be specific with this new moon, because you're going to see that there's going to be lots of checks that are going to be kind of going on. And if you want to work with herbs, I really recommend using rosemary on this one for clarity, or thyme for courage. I think that can be really helpful. You can also work with rose or patchouli. Obviously, those are great options. Cedar also for Taurus. You can sprinkle them around a candle. You can put some of these herbs in a tea, and you can do, an intention tea that you sit and you sip, and maybe you meditate for a little bit. If you want to work with oils, you can anoint candles or even your wrist with a little bit of rose or patchouli oil for prosperity. These scents definitely align with Taurus's vibe. And I also like using, like I said, cedar. So I'll put a little bit of cedar dust sometimes on a candle, or you can use pyrite, which can be really beneficial for bringing in abundance as well. I like rose quartz for this new moon. I also like green aventurine for abundance, or emerald for heart-centered growth. So you can wear these stones, you can carry them on you, you can leave them on an altar to charge them. And I would really work with affirmations on this new moon as well. So I would say something like, I'm worthy of abundance and I build my dreams with patience and love. Very simple, right? But I think that is kind of the embodiment of that new moon and the sextiles that we're seeing between Saturn and Venus and Uranus. That's envisioning, praying, acknowledging, working with it, bringing it into our reality, and seeing that physical vibrational shift. And also I would recommend, if you guys get the time, or if you're in the space, or if you've got the climate to be able to get outside and plant something, plant something. New moons are like seeds. But this one in particular means that, you're going to be planting a seed, or you're going to be doing something that's going to require you to really nurture it and focus on your goals, and also be able to do it against all odds. So maybe you've got a crazy schedule. Maybe you've got some unusual conditions that you're working with. Maybe you're in an urban environment, whatever. Maybe you've got deer that come in and eat your plants, depending on where you live. But planting a seed, literally or metaphorically, is definitely a theme during a new moon. And I think this can be great because it can symbolize your goals, really kind of growing with Taurus's nurturing energy. And I will let you guys know. I'll let you know what happens with my plants, if they can withstand the the pressure and the heat to kind of grow. I think that maybe we can see a change going on with some of them. Anyway, so let me get you guys now the 12 rising signs. We're going to talk about how this is going to be impacting you. Obviously, I'm a Western astrologer. That's what I like to focus on. So I recommend listening to your rising sign. If you're a Placidus user, you're just going to want to find where about 7 degrees of Taurus is in your chart. You might have to listen to more than one rising sign, or if you want to listen to your whole sign, that's fine. Listen to your rising sign, which is going to tell you which area of your life the new moon is going to be in. Listen to your sun sign to see how it impacts your overall joy, creativity, and career, and your moon sign to see how this impacts you emotionally. All right. So as a reminder, once again, if you have anything 5 to about 9 degrees of Taurus, sun, moon, rising, or personal placements, you're going to have this new moon conjunct you. So it's going to be pretty prominent. Equally, the fixed signs, okay? So if you have anything in the fixed signs about 5 to, let's say, 8 degrees, you're going to be feeling this as well. So you might want to pay attention. All right, so let's get personal. Let's take a look. We're going to start, obviously, with Aries and Aries rising. What's up, Aries? Aries, you're going to be doing this new moon in Taurus, and I'm sure a lot of what I said resonates and applies to you. It's in your second house. You are going to see it in a square with Mars, which is your chart ruler. Okay, that's important. And it's also in a square with Pluto. So really the theme here, Aries, this is your once a year opportunity to do some money manifestation, bottom line. This is also about reassessing your resources and your self-worth. That's what you're doing during this new moon. I think a new moon in the second house, it's going to spark fresh approach to finances as well as your talents. I think that with Venus's aspect, it's suggesting that there could be something that you're dreaming about investing in. It could mean that you're manifesting something. I think the challenge here is that you have a new moon that's squaring Mars in your 5th house. It might mean that, you're thinking about a new creative side hustle, but you need to be really careful with overspending. I would recommend with this new moon, budgeting with intention and investing in skills that boost your confidence. There's a lot of wanting to bring in new income streams or wanting to grow your self-esteem or your worth or bring in more money. And I feel like you're kind of under the gun here where you're like, okay, well, this is what other people have done, or this is how other people are doing it, and this is what I want to do. And I think that you might be feeling like it's difficult to either achieve what you're hoping to achieve creatively, or in a sense of taking risks, or even in a sense of hobbies. It can even be with your romantic life or your children. Somehow that's impacting or influencing how you feel about yourself. So if you're going to start a new business, you're going to launch something, you're going to invest in something, you're going to take a risk, whatever, make sure that you're budgeting, because there could be a sense of going a little overboard here. And let's see what the cards have to say for you. My Aries, you get the 10 of Wands. So the 10 of Wands is about overcoming an obstacle or a challenge. 10s are about completion. So this is a card that's basically saying against all odds, I think you're actually going to see something positive come of this. I also feel like for you, this is about you being okay, this is a last ditch effort. So if you've been trying to make a side hustle work, if you've been trying to make a creative business work, if you've been trying to launch something, this is you're spending the next 6 months full steam ahead, giving it everything you've got. You're not willing to give up. You're kind of staying the course. So maybe a lot of this is as a result of you reassessing what's most valuable to you. And that's how you're going to end up maybe applying some of these new beliefs to how you're navigating some of your professional, financial, or creative goals. Good luck, Aries. Oops, I forgot to change the chart. Let's move this over. There we go. All right, so we're going to go to Taurus and Taurus rising. What's up, Taurus? Well, Taurus, this is your new moon. So if you have anything around that 6, 7, 8 degrees, it's very personal for you. New moon in your sign happens once a year. So the theme here is really about redefining your identity as it's taking place in your 1st house. Now, something to think about is that it's going to be the focal point of a square between Mars in your 4th house and Pluto in your 10th, which means you are trying to find a way to find the balance, to get more comfortable, to set new intentions when it comes to navigating changes on the home front and also changes going on within your career, your professional life. I think this new moon, refining your identity for sure, but this is also about your own personal reset. And with Venus conjunct Saturn in the 11th house, it's really pushing you to align with soul aligned communities, people who are your tribe, also refining something about your goals, your long-term goals. And I think that the square between Mars and Pluto makes things a little tricky because both of these planets are associated with Scorpio. So it's like your relationship to your career, your relationship to your family, maybe you're realizing there's some tension. It's hard for you to balance what's going on in the workplace and what's happening at home. Maybe you're feeling like you're under pressure and there's conflict in both areas of your life and you're trying to be able to kind of find that balance. The change is going to happen with you, Taurus. If you want to see, more growth in your career, that's up to you. If you want to see that you're moving, changing house, kind of finalizing things that have to do on the home front, that's also going to be about you. So the next 6 months looks like it's a little bit of like a balancing act. I also feel like this is about really pushing you to realize that you can have balance in your career and your home. Some of you guys might feel like you need to change homes in order to kind of grow your career. You need to leave home. Others are going to feel like, you know what, my job needs to change because I need to be more focused on my family. I would really recommend with this new moon, realizing that it's not just so much about the traditional, okay, update your look, or your routine to focus on the real you. I think this is about you getting feedback and insight from friends, from groups, from your community about what direction you should go in. People are going to be helping you kind of decide whether or not it's going to be more about work or more about your family. And you might also find that there is some support coming from people at work, and you've got people who are helping kind of pick up the slack so you can have some support, or maybe you're, working with a friend or starting a business with a friend to be able to better kind of navigate some of this intensity. So you have people that'll help, like I said, pick up the slack at work. So you're not having to feel like you're so bombarded from changes on both sides of your 4th and your 10th house. All right. So the card that I get for you is the Queen of Swords. So watch for a Gemini, a Libra, or an Aquarius. Okay. Or this could be you, Taurus. This could be you learning to find your voice. This could be about you learning to kind of communicate and express. This could be also about important contracts, negotiations, meetings. This could also mean that you're focusing on expressing yourself differently, speaking your piece, being straight with other people about what you're thinking and what it is that you need. It's interesting that, this is very much connected to like Mercury. Mercury's in your 12th house. So to me, this feels like there's been something going on for the last couple of months where you've been like, I know that there's something that I need to do or something I'm supposed to be working on, or maybe I'm prioritizing writing something or learning something or studying something. And like now you're going to start kind of communicating and letting people know that, what you've been kind of working on behind the scenes. And maybe that's like the big change that's getting ready to kind of come in your career. Good luck. We've got Gemini and Gemini rising. What's up, Gemini? You're going to be experiencing a new moon in Taurus happening in your natal 12th house. For you, obviously, this is a place of privacy. This is kind of like a secret space, a private space that you can get comfortable. Taurus in the 12th house is going to be about inner healing and intuition, and also nurturing some of your inner talents. Maybe reevaluating in private what it is you value the most or what direction you're going in with your finances. Now, you're going to have this new moon here, which is really calling for quiet reflection. This is, obviously the kind of time right before your birthday where things get quiet. You kind of start reflecting on what has happened in this last year, and you're going to be flushing a lot of stuff out. So I think with that, plus, the ruler, Venus being in your 10th house, you're trying to get some kind of clarity about where you're going with your career and, what phases are ending, what new things are coming in. Maybe there's some questions about how this is going to be impacting you financially, but I think a lot of you guys are going to be finally releasing some old fears revolving around money, loss or job loss. I think you guys are going to be kind of realizing that things are a little bit more solid than you believed. So there can be some shifts revolving around money and values kind of going on. You're also going to see that this is going to be in hard aspect to Pluto and in Mars. So I think for you guys, stirring some subconscious fears can definitely come up. Some changes in your sleep cycle, some unusual dreams can be happening. I think with a new moon here, I'd be meditating or journaling to release old baggage and really kind of trusting your gut, especially knowing that this is squaring Mars in the 3rd house where, if you're not sleeping well or if you're getting kind of restless or if you're kind of anxious, it can definitely lead to some like mental tension. You might find that for some of you guys, this also is a new moon that brings up some significant turning points or changes revolving around travel. travel, education, philosophy. So some of you guys might be like, okay, I'm going to be traveling more, and this could be to another country. This could mean that you're just kind of getting away to kind of release stress, and doing some short distance trips as well. And it can also be very education related if you guys are wanting to kind of study something, but kind of behind the scenes, or if you're wanting to go to like retreats or like private study clubs or groups. This might be something that's triggered from this particular new moon. I have the Six of Cups coming up for you, my Geminis. This is interesting, reminiscing, thinking about the past, reflecting, getting comfortable. Like there is this sense, I think, with the Six of Cups that talks about innocence and like, dreams and kind of like learning to play and being a little bit more kind of whimsical and focusing on your intuition. I think this can also mean that you're reflecting on times where things were simpler, and that could be financially or at work or just in your life in general. And finding time to kind of like rest, recuperate, and kind of have like a comfortable space, I think is going to be really important during this new moon. So that way you can kind of focus on, letting go of whatever has been so you can get comfortable with what's coming. And just having some kind of like childlike imagination with this new moon, I think is going to be really important as well. Good luck. We've got Cancer and Cancer rising. What's up, Cancer? You're going to do this new moon in Taurus in your natal 11th house. And the 11th house is all about your community. It's about dreams. This is also about your goals, your friendships, your networks. Obviously in a sign that's harmonious with you, Cancer. So I do think that you're going to navigate this a little bit better than some of the other signs. The 11th house new moon is really about inspiring new friendships, meeting new people, joining new groups, being, open to new group projects. Venus in the ninth, ruled by this, is really kind of saying that it's fueling these new goals, or these new aspirations are being fueled by spiritual growth, or it's being fueled by travel, or maybe it's being fueled by higher education, a long distance relationship, right? Venus, Saturn. The challenge here is that there is a square to Mars in your money house, and there's also a square to Pluto in your joint resources house. So I do feel like this might test some partnerships. I mean, I feel like some friendships might be tested because of, dramatic financial changes going on in your life or their life, or somehow money being kind of intertwined to group dynamics. I also feel like this can be about your financial goals changing, and that you're looking at things differently, and you're more willing to take risks and more willing to kind of invest in what might be new businesses, new hobbies. Maybe this means that you have, some new financial incentive to make more money, and you're willing to kind of take risks and kind of push the envelope a little bit. And that's also going to kind of get you out there and help you like network. So I would really say with this new moon, connect with like-minded souls, share your vision with other people. Great time to start a group, join a group, network online. Especially if you are either looking for a job or if you are looking to learn more about investment strategy. You might get some really good insight from other people who are going to be talking to you about some of the bigger patterns that are going on kind of globally, economically with the markets. And it'll give you some insight as to really what is worth investing or spending money on, right? The card that I got for you is the Two of Coins. So this is about kind of the back and forth, which is interesting. That's very much like the teeter-totter of the opposition. What is my goal? Do I spend or do I save? What am I doing? And also feeling like you're weighing your options. So you might also feel like there is like a relationship that's on a tipping point, a friendship more, not romantic, but like a friendship that's like at a tipping point. And it's like, okay, do I stay or do I go? Do I focus on this friendship or do I kind of move on? Do I focus on joining this one particular group or club or do I move on? I would say take your time, but this might be a little bit more challenging, more than I thought for you, because the Two of Coins is kind of saying it's putting the pressure on you to pick a side, to pick a lane, to choose. Is it going to be focusing on going all in, or are you going to be more cautious and more conservative, and are you going to kind of hold on to your resources? So let me know how that resonates with you, Cancer and Cancer risings, because it looks like you guys are getting ready to take a big risk. I would assume maybe it's with your career, with some of the planets going through your 10th. Good luck. We've got Leo and Leo rising. What's up, Leo? You're going to be experiencing this new moon in Taurus taking place in your natal 10th house, which is all about your career. So it's about work, career, your legacy. And obviously you're ruled by the sun. So like new moons are important for you because it's like a reset for you personally. So with that sun going through the 10th house, the new moon in the 10th house, this is about new intentions when it comes to your professional life and your identity out in the world. Obviously, this is a time where you want to set goals when it comes to your career and you want to put them in motion. And this is kind of complex for you. It's very personal, not only because the sun is involved, but because it's also squaring Mars on your ascendant and Pluto on your descendant. So I feel like the positive is that this really boosts ambition. Like the moon and the sun in the 10th house is saying, okay, I've got new things that I want to do professionally. I'm really all about it. But, maybe you feel like you're pressured and you're under the gun to perform and get things done. Mars on your ascendant. Although I do feel like you're going to be good in a sense because, well, Mars is connected to the sun and the sun's in the 10th. You're feeling incentivized to get out there and be the best and like maybe be a little bit more competitive than usual. It's the opposition of Pluto that's going to get you. And this can definitely mean in order for you to be on top, you have to be more competitive and be more willing to kind of face challenges and opposition. So you can kind of feel like there can be a little bit of some conflict or some drama going on with a client, a relationship, or somebody in like a public arena. I would focus on the long-term wins, not the short-term drama. I would be more focused on where you're going and not getting entangled with other people who are trying to kind of trip you up or create some conflict along the way. Because there is this sense of either a relationship or somebody publicly who's like challenging you that perhaps is like trying to knock you off, your hill or off of like your crown, like not wanting you to kind of be as successful as you should be. And if you get sucked into the Mars Pluto drama, it's going to put you in a position of like being very visible for being kind of, combative. So just kind of keep that in mind, that yes, people will challenge you, but this is about you kind of being more tunnel vision on what's going on with your career and your professional life, especially with Saturn and Venus in conjunction. It's like, you know what, you're so focused right now on either making money or what time or energy you've invested in your career changes to see that fully blossom, that you don't have time to be going back and forth with other people and having like the squabbles, So don't focus on the short-term drama. The card that I get for you is the Five of Coins, which is a card that obviously is like the I don't have enough, the lack mindset. You got to be really careful with Venus conjunct Saturn here. This can mean that you're really pushing for, growth and abundance and you're wanting to have good things. But there is this feeling of, man, every time I start kind of focusing on growing my career, going in a positive direction, something else kind of like pulls me down. And South Node is going through your second house, which can be about some major financial changes, but it doesn't have to mean financial loss. I actually really like this moon for you because I feel like whatever you're focusing on growing, you're kind of setting yourself apart or you're redefining yourself outside of relationships or like professional associations. You might feel like you're kind of left out in the cold right now, or that, you have to separate yourself from some people professionally or even like separate in some relationships in order to receive that abundance. And a lot of that's because maybe you're feeling like you're not getting what you need. Right. So, I've seen with Mars and Pluto in opposition for a lot of Leo risings, it's manifested as some kind of separation, from a partner. And now this is about redefining yourself and being like, okay, you know what, I can make it on my own. And, I'm not going to let whatever challenges have happened in your relationship kind of hold me back from my potential. Right. So watch out for lack mindset. That's what you want to be watching out for the most, Leo. Good luck. All right. We got Virgo and Virgo rising. What's up, Virgo? You're going to be doing this new moon in Taurus in your natal 9th house right here. And obviously it's in a fellow sister earth sign. So this is going to be beneficial for my for my Virgo and Virgo risings, probably somewhere around like 6, 7, 8 degrees. You guys will be experiencing a trine. Now, having a new moon in your natal 9th house is going to be about expansion of your beliefs. Okay. So if you're wanting to travel, if you're wanting to start a new educational program, if you want to work with a new teacher, if you want to publish something, if you need to start something kind of legal, you would do any of this after a new moon. I do feel like the new moon in your 9th house is really igniting like a thirst for travel and also for learning. I like that it's got Venus in your 7th house, conjunct Saturn, which is also strengthening partnerships. So it might mean you're learning a lot about relationships. There's a new relationship that you have with a teacher, a mentor, a lawyer, somebody who is kind of guiding you or enlightening you. Can also mean that there's opportunity for planning things like graduations, weddings, commitments with others. And it can also be great for setting up travel with romantic partners as well. Now, if you're single, it can mean that you're going to be traveling and then you're going to possibly be meeting someone. The challenge here is that you're going to see a square to Mars And also you're going to see a square to Pluto. So it's kind of saying that you have to learn some lessons now, or you have to travel now, or there needs to be some kind of reevaluation of your beliefs. And it can be relating to work or health or productivity. I think you got to watch out with the squares to Mars and Pluto, because it can mean that, you can be repressing some stuff, or that you can be kind of holding back some things subconsciously. Maybe Pluto in your sixth house is overworking, or dealing with some challenges in your daily habits and routines. To better balance some of this stuff out, it might mean that you're like, I'm learning something new about health and wellness or productivity. I am maybe making more time to travel and go places to kind of break up some of this energy, so I don't feel like my schedule is so kind of continual. And I also feel like this is about exploring a new philosophy or course, maybe, to really kind of shift your perspective. Probably something that's really, I think, positive for you guys in the midst of this is not only the trines, but the fact that you are going to see Venus conjunct Saturn. Like, you will bring the right people in right now, whether it's a relationship, a therapist, a lawyer, a teacher. Somebody is likely going to come in that's going to be helping you through that. So you want to really kind of lean on what's going on in the seventh house. And obviously watch out for unexpected changes to your travel schedule throughout the next 6 months if you are booking things, and that can be due to things that's going on with work and also stuff that's going on with your subconscious, and also like your health. Mars in the 12th house can be about healing stories. So, make sure that you're picking good times to be traveling and kind of going places or starting courses, or anything like that, because you're going to see that this opposition is going to be bringing up either the need to change your schedule or unexpected changes coming that will impact some of your travel plans. The card that I got for you is the Empress. This is a positive card. What's interesting about the Empress is that this has a connection to almost like your fourth house, which could be Jupiter. It could also be connections to the moon. Maybe it means that you have somebody who is in your family, or a woman who is going to be involved in this process. It can be like a nurturing new teacher. It can be a parent. Ninth house can also be in-laws. So it can be something kind of connected to in-laws. It can also mean that you're learning more about beauty. You're learning more about women. Maybe you're studying something connecting to art. Maybe there's some kind of connection to clothing, importing, exporting that can be coming up for you. But also, I think that this is going to be about learning to nurture something, right? That everybody will say the Empress is about the mother. Yeah, but it's more about what you're nurturing. So are you nurturing the fact that you realize you need to travel more, that you need to be learning something, that there's something shifting, revolving around your beliefs and your philosophy, and you're leaning into that, right? Great card to be pulling. You guys will have to let me know how that manifests for you, especially with some of the eclipses going on your ascendant. I wonder if this is about some of you guys that are like pregnant or thinking about getting pregnant, or maybe like traveling or going on a baby moon with some of the new moon energy in your ninth. Good luck. We've got Libra and Libra rising. What's up, Libra? You're experiencing a new moon in Taurus in your natal 8th house. For you, Libra, this is a house that deals with transformation as well as shared resources. So think taxes, joint income, inheritance, anything revolving around investments as well, emotional and psychological changes, as well as healing. Intimacy also. So this has been interesting because, obviously the last full moon we had in your sign, it had Venus conjunct Saturn. This new moon we have, Venus is still conjunct Saturn, but Venus is direct. So both of these lunations impact you. I do feel like the 8th house is really about deepening intimacy. And this is also about setting new intentions when it comes to financial partnerships. Venus in your 6th house, it is about, now that it's direct, improving your routines. I do feel like this is your routines revolving around health, habits, work, what you're kind of changing when it comes to your health and your habits. This can be a good time for like Libra risings to do like a detox. It can also be a time where you're feeling like you're hiring a new assistant, or you're willing to kind of invest in a new accountant or somebody who can kind of help you like work through like tax related matters or financial related matters and get those in order. The challenge is that there is a square to Mars in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius. So very financial for Libra risings. This is more what's going on with other people and what they're doing with money, and if they're taking risks, and if it's going to materialize as you kind of having some kind of big reward. You need to watch out for, control issues that are coming up, revolving around romantic relationships, children, creative projects. I think that the fifth house can also be about dating, and some Libra or Libra risings that are kind of in a sticky situation where they're going back and forth with somebody that's like, are we friends or are we something more? What are we doing here? And the new moon can actually kind of highlight and bring that up. So I think for a lot of you guys, it's about being honest in your close relationships, whether you're single or you're in a committed relationship, being honest with what you need from other people, and whether or not you feel like other people are actually making the necessary moves to show you that they're in your corner. And whether this is a relationship, a friendship, what have you, certainly the Mars-Pluto opposition can bring up a lot of tension with other people, with friends, and it can have an impact on your overall happiness and joy, as well as anything connecting to your finances. So you're going to have some people that are going to be kind of saying, yes, full speed ahead, buy this, make this investment. And then the opposition of Pluto means you might take a different path, when it comes to investing, relationships, children. And you're reflecting on that now going, okay, I've done things differently than other people. How do I feel about that? So kind of a little bit of a grab bag for Libras and Libra risings. Be honest about your needs and relationships this month. The card that you get is the Queen of Wands, which could be an Aries, a Leo, or a Sagittarius, okay? But this could also be you embodying this energy, Libra. It can be that you're being a little bit more fierce and dynamic. I definitely feel like as Venus is coming into your seventh house and as you're seeing planets coming into your seventh house, there's definitely going to be a different kind of personality that's going to kind of come through for you. And you're going to start being a little bit like more bold and dynamic. Maybe this means you're willing to take chances. Maybe this means that you're really focusing on, new opportunities and new investments and new things that you can grow. And you're really serious about what could be either, investments or creative projects. And you're willing to kind of do it against all odds, even if other people aren't necessarily supportive of what you're doing, or maybe you feel like other friends are kind of like, oh, don't waste your time. You're going to be like, no, I'm going to do this. And you're kind of full speed ahead with making some of your creative dreams a reality. Good luck. We've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. What's up, Scorpio? This is certainly going to be an interesting new moon for you. So pay attention, especially if you have anything Scorpio, I would say about 5 to 9 degrees. It's going to be quite intense, but this is going to be setting the stage really for about 6 months worth of change, okay? So for Scorpio and Scorpio risings, you have a new moon in your seventh house. And the seventh house is your opposite sign. So this is about relationships, whether it's romantic relationships, spouses, people who you're just meeting. Maybe you're single, you're trying to meet somebody. It could be about clients, business partners. It could also be about your marketplace. So things that you sell, things that you offer. When you have a new moon here, obviously it's an opportunity for a fresh start when it comes to partnerships and finding some kind of balance, because the seventh house is about balance. The prediction that I have for you is that the new moon will refresh relationships, whether you're single or you're in a committed relationship. I like that it's ruled by Venus, which is in your fifth house, which basically means that this is sparking romance and creativity. It is giving you also the opportunity to focus on true love or creative projects that make you feel really happy. If you're somebody who's an artist or a creative or performer, you may have found that you've gotten back into doing that, playing an instrument, being on stage, going back to a creative hobby that you feel like really comfortable doing. And maybe it means that you're looking for creative collaborators right now. It could also mean that there is like an emphasis on your relationships and children. So a relationship to a child, how kids are changing a relationship, that's going to be another theme for some of you guys. Approaching relationships much more seriously if you're dating and letting people know what it is that you're looking for. However, this is a new moon that squares Mars in the 10th house of career, where there is this, kind of building pressure to show up, be out in the world, be successful, be productive, be competitive professionally. So it does bring a little tension where there can be some friction between, people you're working with and maintaining a relationship with them that can be pleasant. It's also in a square to Pluto in your fourth house, which is basically saying there is some like dramatic things changing internally or in your home or your family life, or kind of feeling like things are being kind of pulled up or uprooted. And that's also impacting your relationships. So if you have anything, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 degrees of Scorpio, you're going to have a grand fixed cross. And this basically means that, the wheel of the chart is going to turn. There's going to be pressure that's going to be happening for the next 6 months in all 4 areas of your life. The new intentions that you set in your relationship zone are going to basically be the focal point of then the change with the career that comes over the summer, the change that you go through personally in the fall, the change that happens in your home life also at the beginning of 2026. This is a great time to get a therapist. This is a great time also to be really considering and thinking about other people, who you align yourself with, who you're dating, who you're married to, who your business partners are, who your therapist is, who your astrologer is. Because this person is going to basically help you navigate what your professional goals are, how to show up in the world, and how to be, I think, more of a leader or have, more success or hold yourself accountable. They're also going to help you deal with some of the more challenging things going on emotionally and subconsciously behind the scenes when it comes to the changes with your home, your family, your living situation, or just uprooting the past. And you need somebody who's going to be patient and persistent and willing to kind of work with you, right? Taurus. So watch for ego clashes. That can definitely happen in relationships, whether it's at home or it's in a professional sense. And I would say, listen as much as you speak, because there is this need to kind of hear what other people also have to say. This is about other people being able to kind of guide you. You might find that partners have some new shift or goal going on, with the home or the family life, and that's going to put more pressure on you professionally or vice versa. So one of those two things are going to end up kind of happening. But I do think that this is going to be positive if you are looking to meet somebody new. You just might have to be willing to change something about where you're meeting people, how you're meeting people. You might need to be willing to relocate. Some of you guys might be considering, changing jobs. And so this is kind of promoting going and finding a new employer as well. All right. So the card that I got for you is the Ace of Coins. That's a good card. You want to see this, especially during a new moon that's in an earth sign. So a new physical opportunity. Okay. So Taurus is money, right? So it can mean like, oh, you're bringing in more clients. Oh, there's more people who are willing to buy products or services from you. More people who want to work with you, they want to collaborate with you, but also that there is something valuable coming in. So whether that's a financial offer, a job, or it ends up being a relationship that's really kind of like rock solid and somebody who's supportive. And also if you're in a committed relationship already, this is a new development that can be happening where you guys are kind of getting to the next phase and you're feeling more solid. Certainly Jupiter in your 8th house as well can be really good for money. So I do think that the money and the resources can come from stuff that you're doing together jointly. So that's just something to kind of keep in the back of your mind. Good luck, Scorpio. We've got Sag and Sag rising. What's up, Sag? We're going to be doing this new moon in Taurus in your natal 6th house. And obviously, the 6th house is also about health, daily routines, your pets, your habits, where you're working, right? And this is a sign that kind of in conjunction or quincunxes you. So you guys don't have too much in common, but it does mean that this is giving you the opportunity to really kind of get your health and your schedule and your habits in order. Now, I think the prediction for you guys is with the new moon in the 6th house, you're really focusing on better habits. Some of you guys are going to be looking for new jobs. Some of you guys are setting up a new schedule. Maybe you're going back to the doctor, you're going back to the gym. Maybe you're looking for a new pet. Maybe this means that you're changing something with your office space. But the ruler of this particular moon is Venus, and Venus is actually in the 4th. So to me, this is more kind of saying it's more about getting your home in order. This can be about fixing things in your home, creating a new home office. This can be about setting up a new home routine where you're working or you're working out, because this can also be about fitness. But I love this for decorating, designing, bringing people in to fix things up, to kind of repair stuff and like aesthetically change things in your home. We're making more time for that. And also recognizing that emotional health is part of your physical health. Some of you guys might find that this is about you nurturing or kind of taking care of someone, maybe nursing them back to health. It could be a parent, a relative, or even a pet. The challenge here is that you're going to see the new moon is going to square Mars in your 9th, and it's also going to square Pluto in your 3rd. So this is definitely going to bring up some disruptive communication. You might find that it's difficult to kind of communicate because you're kind of stressed or because there is some new change to your habits. It's forcing you to kind of communicate in a different way. And this could also mean communication with siblings or neighbors can be a little bit more stressful. Maybe there's going to be new systems or new applications at work. And so you're having to kind of adapt to that and kind of like learn the ropes a little bit better. You're also going to see this new moon square Mars in your ninth, which is going to be really bringing up like the need for travel, higher education, things kind of connected to your belief system. So really, scheduling changes and health changes or new habits are going to help you kind of move through some mental conflict, communication issues, as well as education and travel challenges. Organization is key here. I think with a new moon in the 6th house, the better organized you are, the better you can navigate some of this stuff. This is also about starting a grounding practice. So something like yoga, right? Or meal prep, or maybe you decide that you want to incorporate aromatherapy into your home to create a much more kind of like calming environment. Maybe you're starting a new routine where you're going to be working out from home, or you're saying, you know what, I'm going to start walking the dog every other, day, something like that. That's going to seem silly and it's going to seem like very like practical, but it's going to be really good at kind of keeping you, I think, grounded. Now, this is a really good time, I think, to focus on health in general. So if you know that you need to make a dietary change, or you want to get back to the gym, or maybe you want to, go and check in with your doctor, this is a good time to do it. I would also say the squares to Pluto in the 3rd house is about a transformation of the mind, and it can be a great time to start a new walking routine. Maybe this also means it can be a time where you consider applying technology, using apps and other things to help you like see the changes. So like counting your steps, what you're eating, fitness challenges or apps that are going to be wellness related can be really helpful in reaching your goals. Mars in the 9th house is going to be also about your goals. So maybe you're like, hey, between now and summer, I want to, eat more, gain more muscle. Maybe you want to learn a new kind of health habit or routine. Maybe you're also feeling incentivized because you're going somewhere. So you can use that as the motivation to kind of help you focus on like this routine. Obviously, if you're looking for a job as well, this can be a really good new moon for that. The card that you get is the 7 of Wands, which I really love with Mars square this particular new moon in the 6th. It's about overcoming challenges against all odds. This is also very much about not backing down and being consistent and persistent. It can talk about having about a 7-week period that you're kind of working with us to see it unfold. So maybe giving it about that long to kind of see how some of these health or habits kind of stick, staying with something consistently. I will tell you, like, I have Venus conjunct Saturn in the 4th house, and something I have found that's like really beneficial is like, I have found when I get up in the morning and I like clean up, and whether that's like I clean up the kitchen or I organize my office, or if I get up and I shower first thing in the morning and I get ready, I'm more productive. Like I feel like I'm awake. I've got everything kind of like going, so I continue throughout my day. Because Venus rules your 6th house and also it's conjunct Saturn in your 4th, I would adopt some of these practices. Get up early, have a routine, do that. You're going to feel more productive, and you're also going to feel like things are just going a little bit more in flow. Okay? Good luck, Sag. We've got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. What's up, Capricorn? You're doing this new moon in Taurus in your natal 5th house. If you're a Capricorn sun, moon, or rising, 6, 7, 8, 9 degrees, you're going to have a trine from this new moon. The new moon obviously is in a fellow sister earth sign, so it's pretty friendly for you. The 5th house is about creativity and joy. So this is about children. This is about hobbies, having fun, dating, falling in love, taking chances. So a new moon here is generally pretty fun. I do predict for the new moon here that this is really, really fueling passion projects as well as romantic opportunities. I think with Venus being connected to this moon and it's in the 3rd house conjunct Saturn, it's really sharpening communication. So this is good for like those of you guys who want to have serious conversations with your kids, or you want to have serious conversations with someone you're dating. If you're in a creative field where you create, but you write or you blog, or maybe you have a YouTube channel or you create some kind of media, this could be a good time to start some new project like that. I feel like the challenge here is that it is squaring Mars and it is squaring Pluto, and this is in financial houses. So Pluto in your 2nd house, Aquarius, is going through a personal revolution and change in the way that you look at money, your values, your self-esteem. Mars in your 8th house is other people's money, okay? So this is also like taxes are due, money is owed. needing to pay off debt or loans, or maybe you're going back and forth with somebody about what is owed to you. So some of you guys who have children, there could be a back and forth revolving around, okay, we have kids, who's paying for what? What's my responsibility? What's your contribution? But also insurance, joint, finances, how that kind of factors into kids. If not children, it could also mean that, your values are changing and that you're really putting a higher value on, I want to have fun. I want to participate in hobbies and things that make me feel good. I have a new goal, or maybe a new business or side hustle that I want to start. And I got to take a chance or invest some money into it. The question is with some of these squares, is it triggering impatience, right? Are you being impatient when it comes to, seeing the project or the relationship or whatever develop? There can definitely be some power struggles that, like I said, can come up with money. I feel like this is going to be more about your resources versus that of someone else's, whether that's family, a partner, money that's owed to you. There is a back and forth here. And I would say that this is definitely also a transit that's about taking chances. And are you willing to take a chance and take a risk? This could be with a relationship. This could be with a new hobby, but it could also be financially. I would say, really express yourself through art or play, let loose, but also be mindful of just how much it costs you to participate in this thing. So if it's a hobby that requires a lot of materials and supplies, what is it going to cost you to do that? If it's going to be a hobby that requires risk, if you're getting into trading, right? Or if you're, going to a casino or whatever, you're going to be risking losing something. So don't be willing to, invest yourself in things if you're not willing to potentially play the game. You have to be kind of willing to kind of take a chance. No crying in the casino is very much what this looks like to me. If you're gonna go in and take this chance, you can't really cry about potentially when it goes the other way, But definitely have fun. And I think that what's beneficial is Venus is conjunct your chart ruler. So I do feel like you are going to be a little bit maybe more cautious, especially when it comes to communicating and kind of talking about your feelings, or maybe you're taking a more serious approach to what you're writing, learning, or kind of putting out there. And you have a goal in mind, something that you would like to achieve, especially because this is also sextiling Uranus. So I feel like maybe you are going to be a little bit more responsible than what this kind of indicates. Looking for new love, right, or new relationships, good moon to do it. Also, if you're trying to get pregnant, if you're looking to kind of start a family, a new moon here definitely comes up. You might just want to be having conversations about insurance and financial matters when it comes to some of that stuff. The card that I got for you is the 8 of Coins. So working hard, perfecting, your tasks, finding that you're finding perfection in what you're creating. Tried and true, really. I feel like that's about doing something over and over and over again until it's perfected. So it looks like you're learning how to gain more. You're learning how to, have more fun or bring in more resources, but it's going to take time. So I like the Venus-Saturn aspect because I feel like this is about you really learning and leaning into having a better understanding of how to perfect what it is that you're doing. Even if it's just a hobby, you're how can I be the best at painting, dancing, drawing, performing? Something that you're really kind of refining. So it can be really great for some of you guys who are feeling like you're about ready to start an online business or maybe open a website or start a new social media because it tells me that you've been working really hard at it and now you're getting ready to kind of have a breakthrough here. Good luck, Capricorn. We've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. What's up, Aquarius? You're doing this new moon in the sign of Taurus in your natal 4th house, which is also very, very interesting for you because it's going to be squaring Pluto in your sign. So as with all the fixed signs, you guys are feeling this one in a very big way. The 4th house is about your home, your private life, your roots. And this can be a time where you're setting intentions about what changes are going to happen on the home front. Are you moving? Are you renovating? Are you wanting to buy a house? Are you wanting to make changes in an existing home? This is also about your family and your kind of emotional self. So when you have a new moon here, you're focusing on your home, your family, and your living space. And I think what's positive is that Venus is conjunct Saturn in your 2nd house. So there's a lot of where can we be more conservative when it comes to spending to reach these new goals, right? So it's maybe because we do want to, renovate the home, we're not going to be spending a bunch of money on X, Y, and Z. Maybe we do want a down payment, so we're deciding that, we're going to save money, or we do want to upgrade, so we're going to sell the house so that way we can, move to a bigger space, that kind of stuff. So it is bringing you a sense of being a little bit more cautious and also patient and persistent to kind of meeting some of your home and your financial goals, Venus, Saturn in the second. I do think that the challenge, obviously, that's glaringly, kind of coming up is that this new moon squares Pluto in your first house, and Pluto is in your sign. So this does mean that it's bringing up some kind of tension for you personally. That's like, okay, you want transformation. That transformation is going to come with some kind of an impact either to your home or your family. And simultaneously, it's squaring Mars in your seventh house of relationships and partnerships. So it means that in order to settle some of this tension that you're having between you and another person, there needs to be some new beginning on the home front. And, Mars in the seventh house with this retrograde in opposition to Pluto could mean you had a partner coming in and out of your life. You have had a back and forth with a committed relationship. You have had some tension with a child. You have had some challenges maybe with a creative collaboration or even a business partner. And, now it means that you're either deciding, hey, I'm focusing more on what's going on with my family, being present with that. Maybe it means that you're moving. Maybe it means that you're finding a new defined kind of home space to kind of keep the balance between you and another person. Maybe it means that you're moving and, you've been planning on moving, but now there's like a relationship and now there's going to be some like distance or some kind of dynamic like that. Obviously, Pluto in your first house means that you are very focused on what you can control, your career, yourself, what you're going through. And there's been some tension with other people where they don't quite know what direction they're going in. So the new moon basically says that if you're looking to get more so emotionally grounded, or if you're looking to kind of get into a new home space, or maybe even just kind of like feeling like you can recharge your soul a little bit, or, create a little bit more of like a cozy sanctuary to kind of keep the peace or the balance between you and something else, so be it. I do think that, this is the setup though, that's saying that if there has been some tension in an existing relationship, over the next 6 months, you're going to see how it goes and you're going to determine whether or not you guys can make this work and whether or not you guys can either still live together or whether or not you guys ultimately end up coming together, or if there is a move that happens and then somehow you end up, meeting someone, because a relationship is going to kind of play into this in some way, shape, or form. The card that I got for you is the Seven of Coins. Which is interesting because this is saying you're taking your time, you're not rushing, which I think is smart. Like a new moon here, if you're feeling the pressure to buy a house or sell a house, or somebody's saying, you immediately need to move out, or we need to sell something, or, like whatever, like I would be very weary about that, because the Seven of Coins is saying we need to take our time. Let's plan this accordingly. It might mean that you're feeling pressured to sell something or move out of something, and you're like, no, now is not the time. You might feel like, hey, I'm going to get more money for my house if I paint it, or if I redo the roof, or if I renovate the kitchen. Very much like Venus, Saturn. Can also mean that, even though a partner or a child or somebody in your life is very impatient, you're like, no, we're going to take our time and we're going to do this right to really make sure that everything is kind of going to go accordingly. Buying or selling right now, be careful. Also, make sure that you're really assessing what's going on with the overall value and the condition of the home, because there could be some challenges that can kind of come up there. But Seven of Coins is saying patience, persistence, really thinking about where you're planting your seeds, especially if thinking about buying something. Is that somewhere where you're going to be for a long time? Are you going to enjoy living there? It's something to think about. Good luck, Aquarius. We've got Pisces and Pisces rising. You guys are going to do this new moon in Taurus in your natal third house. And the third house obviously is about communication and learning. This is the house that deals with the mind. Siblings, short distance trips, learning, as well as vehicles are all kind of covered under this house. And having a new moon here is really sparking new ideas and new conversations. It's ruled by Venus, which is conjunct Saturn in your sign. So it does tell me that you are maybe focusing on new things you can learn, new ways of communicating. Maybe you're thinking about traveling, buying a new car, moving. It also is going to be about potential contracts and commitments that can be kind of coming up for you. And with Venus, Saturn in your first house, it's also about refining your identity in some way. And a lot of that being refined based off of how you think and how you communicate with other people. Now, the challenge of this is that it's going to square Pluto in your 12th house, Aquarius. It's also going to square Mars in your 6th house, Leo. And I feel like this is stirring up some conflicts in how you're communicating with, work or, maybe coworkers, or how you are kind of tackling some kind of like health challenge. And then also it's squaring Pluto in your 12th house of the subconscious. I'm going to tell you, communicating, talk therapy, journaling, walking, all of these things can be like really beneficial for like getting your mind right. If you want to think about planning a trip, just really look at your schedule, especially when it comes to work and some blind spots that might kind of come up. I feel like this is also about finding new ways to better express yourself. And maybe it's about taking time and really leaning into the fact that you're prioritizing yourself more. Like Venus, Saturn in the first house is like, no, I'm really committing to like my goals and what I need. And you're learning also through the third house. So what are you learning about? Self-esteem, money, investments. It can also be about resources. And also like refining how you communicate with other people as well. Maybe letting go of subconscious fears or self-undoing. So like journaling and writing could be like really beneficial during this new moon too, just to get all your ideas out on paper. And I really feel like this is about speaking your truth and doing it with kindness and also doing it with clarity. Now, we do see Venus in your sign sextile Uranus, which means also that there can be some unexpected kind of breakthroughs, that once you're like talking about things, you're getting things written down, you have some like realizations about what you've been afraid of or what's been blocking you. Obviously, if you're looking to get a new gadget, if you're looking to travel, if you're looking to get a new car, generally these things kind of happen after a new moon here. But once again, watch for the blind spots, especially when it comes to, health, work, and financial matters because of the squares to Mars in the 6th. All right, so let's take a look. The card that you get is the Five of Wands. Overcoming challenges, adversity, right? Feeling like everybody's kind of like coming at you. Certainly that's kind of Mars, I think, in your 6th house with the square, that you're like trying to get a word in and you're feeling like people are just kind of like coming from all angles. And Taurus in the 3rd house wants to communicate in a peaceful, calm, mellow way. And maybe it's about getting ahead of some of these things because it's square to Pluto and Mars and kind of like talking about it before it becomes challenging. So if you see that there's a situation brewing at work, or if you see that there's a situation brewing within your family, or just in general that you're like, okay, I can avoid this, putting something out there ahead of time and, being able to kind of deal with it and getting it out there before the conflict arises, and a lot of the Venus-Saturn stuff has been about knowing your boundaries and like speaking your piece and telling people what does and does not work for you. So some of you guys are already doing it. But Five of Wands feels like when everything is kind of happening all at one time, it's hard for you to get a word in. So if you feel like it's difficult to communicate with people, sometimes it's about like writing and communicating in a much more kind of traditional way. So it can mean that you write an email, you write a letter, you can post a text message, and then boom, you send it. This is what I'm thinking. This is how I'm feeling. This is what I feel like we need to get done. Maybe think about this and get back to me. Very simple way of communicating, but also it's going to be a better way, I think, to kind of define, your boundaries. And when other people are feeling kind of combative, it can give them something tangible to look at and read and kind of reassess before you guys reconnect, right? So good luck, Pisces. All right, guys. Well, that is the new moon in Taurus in a nutshell. Obviously, this is a very potent new moon. I really hope that you guys are feeling inspired to plant seeds of abundance and self-love, because that's really the focus here. Not getting swept up in the whirlwind of everything that's going on with the collective. Consider doing a grounding ritual, journal your intentions. Let me know in the comments how you're feeling with this new moon, how it's showing up for you, and what your rising sign is. What are you guys manifesting against all odds and all of this pressure? Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and like it. Subscribe for more astrology videos if you like my content. I'm here every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, trying to make sense of what's going on in the cosmos. Make sure you check out my other videos. We have horoscopes. We've got new full moon reports, weekly astro weather on Sundays. There's so much content on this channel. Thank you guys so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Thanks for hanging in with me. I've got a bit of a cold, if you guys can't tell. But I'm glad that I was able to have a voice and do this video. So put that out there before I even get any of the comments. Hopefully I'm doing better by the time we do the horoscopes on Thursday. And you guys let me know how you're feeling with this new moon. So I'll catch you all very soon. You guys enjoy. Bye for now.